All right. Steezy Squad, what is good? Happy hump day. Beautiful Wednesday. At least for me, because it's my Friday. That's right. I took off 2 days, not one, but 2 days. So I could play Crimson Desert for the remainder of the week and to enjoy the weekend as well. And we're going to have a marathon of streams for this game. And speaking of this game, we got some reviews dropping in about literally 5 minutes, T minus. And then the embargo lifts for all of the Crimson Desert reviews, and the floodgates are open. And we'll be on YouTube scouring all of the prominent channels that do reviews for games, IGN, Gamer Ranks. The list goes on and on. We'll check out quite a few of them though, just to get an impression or see what their impression was of the game. That's kind of the plan today. Well, for this little stream, and then we're gonna jump over, play some games. I don't know what I'm gonna play yet. It depends on what I'm in the mood in. Maybe you guys can recommend something for me. But yeah, that's the plan. So it should be a good time. I'm excited. I'm ready to see what what these companies got to say about Crimson Desert. What's up, Mr. Beast? What gave you that impression, Monster? A little confused about that one, but hey, I'll take it as a compliment. We're going to be constantly refreshing YouTube to make sure we can actually get the reviews drop on the hour. Because I asked once for the skate pass and you said, "Do I look like Mr. Beast?" Did I say that? Nah, bro, you capping. I don't remember saying that. I plead the fifth. That's hilarious. I legit don't remember saying that. That's crazy, bro. And I wasn't even medicated. But I mean, that's pretty clever of me to say. That was a good one. All right, we're almost there. We got T minus 2 minutes, and the reviews will be dropping. Chat. Okay. Can you play any game? I mean, yeah, I've got, I've got two hands full of fingers. I got a controller. Yeah, I think I could play any game for the most part. I mean, that I have, that I've actually can physically, that's on my console. Yeah, for sure. That was a funny question. All right, chat. We're getting close. We're getting close. I'm refreshing too. Hold on. I'm gonna just see. I'll see it. We're getting ready. We're getting ready, gang. Check it out, okay? Play Skate or Call of Duty. Well, I'm not doing that right now. If that's what you're saying, Monster. I'm about to watch some reviews on this brand new game that's coming out tomorrow in exactly 24 hours. We're waiting for some. I wanna check out the reviews. Yo, what's up, Mo? How you doing, Brody? Eric, what's good? How we doing? You know, we're chilling, bro. I'm ready to. I'm about to watch some Crimson Desert reviews. Waiting for this review embargo to drop. We got other. You can see other people are doing it too. Great minds think alike. I guess it'd be under recently uploaded, wouldn't it? I'll just do all. I mean, I guess it would make sense to go to IGN first, right? Ooh, oh, that's not it. I got excited for no reason. False alarm. Yeah, we'll just see what pops up first. You would think these dudes have it scheduled, right? Like, oh, hold on. You know what? Actually, I got an idea. I don't know if they'll do video reviews. I didn't even think about that. Happy hump day, bro. For real. Yeah, I didn't even think about this. I was like, do they have a video review ready? I don't think they do. Well, you can check out the website though. I'm sure some websites have it. Have you seen the Marvel Rivals news? What news? Well, it's confirmed that Black Cat and White Fox are the newest characters. Yeah, I seen that. Yeah, I've already seen the preview trailer. I've seen the gameplay reveal for Black Cat. Or I mean, White Fox. Yeah, man, I've seen. I pretty much. Yeah, Punisher's finally got a new skin. I like that. That's nice. Yeah, I definitely will. As a Punisher main and just Punisher fanboy, I'm definitely going to be I'll get pretty much every Punisher skin. It'd have to be really, really bad for me not to get. And I will say the Grimace skin was pushing it, but you know, we still rocked out. It wasn't that bad. Yeah, it wasn't. A little goofy for my taste as Punisher, but you know. Damn, bro. I guess they're not gonna do like an actual oh, here it is. Boom. All right, here we go, chat. Yeah, so we mobbing on today. Well, first, I want to watch some Crimson Desert reviews because the embargo just dropped. So there's like fresh reviews. I just want to check it out. Mr. Guanch. Welcome in, by the way. And then from there, I don't know yet, man. We'll talk about it. We'll see what we can get into. But yeah, I definitely want to check out this just dropped, so I want to see what IGN's got in store for us. Let me hold on. Help if I had audio, right? Let's see what they're saying. Hold on, I don't think there's any audio. Can y'all hear that, chat? I can't tell. I don't think so. Hold on. See what these guys got to say. Yeah, no, I don't think there's audio. Okay, here we go.
Up. This is the gig, man. This is my Super Bowl. Whenever a big chunky RPG comes out, and I know I'm about to lose my life.
I want to know what these guys got to say.
I'm getting close to the end there, and it feels good.
Let's talk about this review process for a little bit. Why we don't have a final review right now? Although you do have like a score
they don't have a final review
at this
yet?
point with 100 hours under your belt. The review process for this one was weird. It's a huge game. Like we said, it's over 100 hours, and there's tons more side content you could be doing beyond just getting to the end of the game. Not that you haven't been doing none of that or anything like that. We only got code for this about 2 weeks before the embargo, the review embargo, and the first 2 days of your playing, they went, oh, sorry, we have to push a patch that's going to completely wipe your save data. So we lost the first 2 days.
Oh, damn.
You hit a game-breaking bug at one point that made you lose a ton of progress because you had to reload a save file from like 7 hours earlier or find a different save file.
Ooh.
There was a day where like 100 gigabyte patch came through that was slow to download, and it was just like a very...
Dude, 100 gigabyte patch is crazy.
Stop and start review process, even in the context of only having 2 weeks to play this huge RPG. You're really close to the end and then going to spend some time with the end game.
Yeah,
for those who haven't seen much or don't know, if have only seen trailers, have just bought into the hype, whatever, what actually is Crimson Desert? What does it play like? What type of RPG is it? And what do you think of it so far? What do you think of it after this 100 hours you spent with it?
Yeah, so Crimson Desert is a super ambitious open world RPG in a fantasy setting, the same setting as Black Desert Online. If you haven't seen this game, it's very much kind of going for like the Witcher 3 vibes, where you're riding around on a horse and you're taking out bandits and you're helping the land, kind of knights and gallantry type stuff going on, but with a very weird kind of, Eastern fantasy vibes, where there's also just like strange creatures and lore and stuff like that. So it is a interesting fantasy world, and I would say game it's sort of like trying to be Witcher 3 with a little bit of Red Dead 2, because it has like these long rides on a horse where you're just like talking with a teammate. It has like that sort of thing, and then it's also got a little bit of like GTA open world like craziness, and also you have to tap A to run, which I thought was something that only GTA was allowed to do.
That's hilarious. I didn't even know that.
It ends up landing.
You have to tap A, bro, like just like GTA is crazy.
It's not exactly of the same kind of caliber as like a Witcher 3.
That is a GTA thing.
It presents a compelling case for this type of bizarre, super ambitious RPG, even if it doesn't always achieve the stuff that it's trying to achieve.
Yeah, so let's dig into that, because I feel like it's been a little bit of a roller coaster when I've talked to you about this game during this review process, where there's, it's sort of a rocky start, and then you find a groove with it, and then it just gets laborious at parts, and there's all these bugs mixed in there. So like, what is it doing right? What is it doing wrong?
So yeah, the very beginning, it's a little tough just because the controls on this game are crazy.
I've heard a lot that the controls are super in-depth.
They have you hold buttons and do combinations of joystick clicks, and if you're on keyboard, you're hitting multiple keys at once to like access different tool sets. It's just a very convoluted control scheme.
We should note also that we only got access to, they only gave access to the PC version ahead of release. We're getting access to the console version at launch, and we'll take a look at it there too. But you've played on both, with both a gamepad and a mouse and keyboard at this point.
Correct. Yeah, and so the beginning, you're kind of figuring out a lot of stuff that the game doesn't do super intuitively, and it's a little bit rocky. Then you figure it out, and you're sort of like, okay, I get it. Now I'm in an open world. let's go see what's
Oh.
out there. And I would say that that's like the best part of the game is when you're
Wow,
just
I
like,
didn't even
exploring
notice
and
you
you're finding,
jump to
mini
like
games,
you're
oh,
a
there's arm
target. Like
wrestling.
you can
Oh, I can
have
go
like
fishing.
a jump like
There's this weird side
reticule.
quest
That's
where I'm helping
interesting.
somebody, and you're just kind of like exploring the world, and it's all very new to you. And that sort of is like the best part of any RPG, right? And I think this game
Bro,
it has
the
so many
map is
surprising
just
elements
insane.
in it that you're continually like, oh, okay, I kind of wasn't expecting that to be here. It has a little bit of Tears of the Kingdom as well, where you're like
Hell yeah.
grabbing things and solving puzzles, and it's not to the point where you're like building contraptions and all that, but you are you do have like abilities, and also it does that thing in Tears of the Kingdom where there's a sky world and a floor world, and you're kind of
Yeah,
going
I
back and
noticed
forth
that.
between the two and falling from the sky down back to the normal world. And so it does some stuff like that where you're just like discovering and having fun. And then you hit a moment where two things happen. One, you start going more into like the main story and the boss fights and some of the bigger war set pieces that happen. They have like war encounters, and you start to realize that this game is a little janky in more ways than one. So
Oof.
the boss fights in this game are real bad. They're not fun encounters. They are scaled way too aggressively. They take a really long time to do. You die a lot, and
I
it's
mean,
one
I
of those
think that's
things
kinda
where, you know,
cool.
I play a lot of Souls-like, so it's not like a skill thing. Like I was able to get through a lot of the encounters with like low level loot because I wasn't really focusing on leveling up my
okay,
loot for
okay.
a lot of the game.
And
Um,
also not a thing where you mind dying and having to try again. You're used to that.
Yeah,
in
I don't
those
mind that at
games.
all. It's more that like the fights drag on for a really long time. They are way harder compared to the rest of the combat in the game that I would describe as like Dynasty Warrior-esque easy.
Mm.
It just goes like the complete other direction where you're just getting your butt kicked. 80% of the time in this game, I was unclear if I was doing things as intended or if I was brute forcing it. Like there was a puzzle once where I was supposed to get up on top of this thing and do this stuff, but I couldn't find an easy path up it. So I did that thing in climbing games where you find like a little alcove that you're not supposed to stand on, but then you do stand on it and it like gets your stamina back, and then you climb the rest of the way. And that's how I got up it. It like felt like I was cheating. And then it turned out, as far as I know, that's how you're supposed to get up the encounter. And so like I never knew if I was brute forcing combat encounters, if I was brute forcing puzzles, or if it was just designed for you to sort of like flub your way through it. And it kind of seems like you are supposed to flub your way through a lot of these encounters, and it makes it feel real bad.
That's distinct from Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild have a similar feeling where you're like, that am I
Yeah.
supposed to be doing this right now sort of thing. But that game really rewards you for being creative. That's the feeling you get is like,
I
wow, I
definitely would.
cannot believe that
I
this
mean, you could see
weird thing I
gameplay
wasn't
tomorrow,
I didn't
man.
think I was supposed to do worked. Whereas you're
See
saying
for
this
yourself
feels
if you want to get it.
doesn't really evoke that
Eric?
same rewarding
Yeah.
feeling.
It feels like you either did it wrong or you broke something. And sometimes you are doing it wrong, by the way. Like I was talking to Mitchell Saltzman and I have been talking about this game a lot, and like he missed an entire ability that you're supposed to get mandatorily in one of the early chapters. And if you don't get it, you just can't get it. And it's a huge part
What?
of the game. It's like a power you need to get through
Ooh.
like lots of side quests and optional stuff.
Damn.
And you know, we asked we have access to the developers during this period, luckily, and so he said, "Hey, what's up with that? Am I screwed? Is my file broken?" And they were like, "Oh no, just beat chapter 9 and you'll get there." And chapter 9 is 80 hours into the game. It's like miles and miles away, and so it was just one of those things where it was like, okay, I didn't have that encounter, but as you mentioned,
That's
I did run
weird.
into a game-breaking bug that completely shut me out of my save file. I could not progress in the main
That
story.
sucks.
And because I was 7 hours behind, I had to choose, okay, am I going to start 7 hours over, or am I just going to borrow somebody else's save file who's around the
Oof.
same part as me and
Oof.
continue playing through their file? And
How about
so,
pre-order the? Yes, I
Which is
did.
not ideal.
My
oh,
my
no,
game's already
not ideal at all.
pre-downloaded.
And it sucked because I really was attached to my character and my build, and it felt
Ah.
like I had like my own story.
That's tragic
yeah,
though.
that sort of
Having
stuff.
to restart, I can't
Between,
stand
like,
that.
The jankiness, like there are bugs, like weird stuff happens, quests break, like stuff just happens in the game where you're just like, oh man, that sucks, it really hurts. And then also just like the moment to moment gameplay, particularly in the main storyline, where things just feel very poorly tuned and off kilter and out of nowhere, between the unintuitive puzzles and the boss fights that just feel arbitrarily difficult, where you're not sure if you're supposed to be getting good or leveling up your equipment, or if you're just supposed to eat 50 stacks of meat while you like chump your way through these. Like it seriously is just a very weird game from top to bottom. And so the longer I've played it, the more I've been kind of frustrated because I'm running into these issues and it's just sort of getting old. And one of those is that they just don't know when to end a combat sequence. Like the big war sequences, they go on for way too long, where you're like doing multiple steps. Like you have to carry around a flag and plant it while 80 guys are around you hitting you. And if one of them hits you, you drop the flag and then have to begin this long button mashing process to pick it up super slowly and move it another couple feet. Like stuff like that, where you're just like, oh my God, I've been at this for 4 hours and I'm still on the same step of the quest. And it's just like,
damn,
please let me out of this. I would say the description is the highs are quite high because they've done the super ambitious thing and they've kind of thrown everything at the wall, but the lows are really low. And it kind of feels like this game tries a little too much.
I agree.
More than it can chew, and it ends up
I'm
being
thinking like a 6,
kind of a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Maybe 6.5
particularly in
max.
Kind of the shape of its story and combat encounters and the stuff you're doing out in the world. It just has a very...
So far, everything's been pretty negative, and the video's almost over. So, yeah, it's not looking good as far as IGN's review goes. But I especially when we're talking about IGN here, take it with a grain of salt. Okay, this is IGN.
Uneven kind of feel to it.
So you are pretty.
No, I do appreciate that. I want to hear the bad stuff in the game. You know, I want to know.
To see what's the lingering.
I don't want to be blindsided.
End game, if there is that sort of stuff.
Pretty much, yeah. So I've tried to focus mostly on the story, which I don't really recommend. Like you kind of need to smell the roses in this game. It kind of forces you to be ready for the next part of the story. So and
it's not like you've done none of that, right?
No, I have. And in fact, the game basically forced me to at one point where it was like, okay, I'm very clearly not equipped for this, so I'm just going to go back and do some other stuff and build your settlement and do side quests and level up your gear and kind of figure out the stuff there. It really does want you to do that, but once you get to the end game, some stuff unlocked that I won't spoil here, but I'm looking forward to playing that for a couple hours. I really just want to finish the game because, as you know, part of IGN's style guide is we finish games before we write reviews, and even though this happens to be an enormous RPG that probably nobody should try to finish in 2 weeks, like I'm gonna try to do that just so that I can speak from a completely informed perspective before I put a final score on it.
So you've got a little bit more to see. You've seen a ton already. If you had to score it now, what realm would you be in? Obviously, this isn't official final score. It could still shift if the end really saves it or botches it, or the end game is truly amazing, whatever. But what realm are you in right now?
Yeah, it can always change, and I try to keep an open mind during these things, but after 100 hours, you're going to have some opinions about a game. And and I have a lot of them, right? And so I'm going to be writing my review in progress later today at the time of this recording. But my overall thoughts is like, it tries so much. It's a technical marvel, which we haven't really talked about, but like it just looks absolutely stunning and performs surprisingly well.
A technical marvel outside of all of the game-breaking bugs.
Yes, the game-breaking bugs. I mean, technically, like frame rates and the way it just looks pretty throughout.
Performance-wise,
Performance-wise, it looks good. But like the stuff that it does bad, the lows are just really low. Enough for me to have trouble recommending this game, especially like if you're going and looking for Witcher 3, like, man, this is not it. Like, it's closer to Two Worlds 2, which, by the way, is a game that is really janky and uneven, but a game I also had a lot of fun with. And I've had fun with this game, but I probably am going to be looking at like the 6 range for this. I think it falls short of me being able to like soundly recommend it with a 7 as like a good game. I would say it is an okay game. Like it does the stuff that it does.
So hold on, chat. Did you just say 6 or 7? No, I'm sorry. Let me stop.
It does super well, and the fact that it just has so much in it, it's hard to be like, it's hard to look away from that because they tried so hard with all the different things they put in the game. But they threw everything at the wall, and now you're going to the buffet, and there's a lot of options here, but none of the food is particularly good at the buffet. You know what I mean? And that sort of is where I'm at with this one. It's a lot of stuff, but the amount of stuff that I would describe as like definitively good and that I've had, like, I don't know, LFT is I don't know yet. I haven't played it. The longer I play, man, it's been tough.
Well, Travis, thank you very much for telling us your thoughts so far. Obviously, like you said, 100 hours is a ton of time with it, so you already are very well informed in that regard. But I'm glad we're taking the time to really put it through its paces, finishes this review up, and we should have a final review hopefully in the next week, pretty soon. So keep an eye out for that with a final score. If you want some other recent huge fun games, check out our reviews of Monster Hunter Stories 3 and Resident Evil.
Wow.
Nah, so that's about it. So he got a 6. Thanks for the follow, Max. Appreciate that. So this is one thing though that I noticed in this dude's review, and he made it pretty clear for the most part. Like, he was trying to complete the story and just go straight through the story, you know? He wasn't really like doing a lot of side quests, building up his character. He was just trying to do like kind of a straight line to the end of the game. So like I feel like that, like with this type of game, especially with the scale that it is on, I don't think they want you to do that, you know? With all of the stuff there is to do in the world, I feel like it'll hinder you. And plowing through that grind can make it. Exactly. That's what I'm saying, Max. Like, I feel like if he would have took his time, actually just like played the game and just appreciated, like, you know, just doing side quests, exploring, actually trying to like, you know, just explore the open world instead of just like, all right, I'm going to get this done. I got to get this done. I'm trying to get to the end of the game, you know, like he probably would have had a better time. Like, personally, I don't want to go straight through the story. Like, I'll get through the first little prologue, you know, and then I want to like I'm going to mess around in the first area. I want to explore outside of that area a little bit, do a lot of like, try to get a lot of side quests done, try to build up my dude a little bit, you know, get some artifacts and some new gear, you know, because I don't want to feel like, and he said it to himself, like he said he was chumping through the bosses. That's probably because he wasn't doing any like enough exploring to get good enough gear and quests and stuff, you know, to really make his character ready for the fucking bosses. That's what it sounded like to me. So yeah, you know, like I said, IGN, grain of salt, bro. So let's see real quick. I want to see what who else dropped one real quick. GameSpot, here we go. Check out
Crimson
GameSpot.
Desert excels at
There's another OG in the gaming review scene on YouTube, right? Kingdom Come Deliverance 1 and 2 were like that to me. If you just went through the story, yeah, dude, exactly. I feel like this game like literally promotes you to like explore and like really get around the world, like before you really like, you know, and that's like, you got to take breaks from the story to do that, to build your character up, explore the world. I feel like that's this type of game.
as an open-world action-adventure game when exploration and combat
This is
intersect.
GameSpot.
In the lead-up to release, there's been a lot of discussion about what exactly the game is and whether it's too good to be true, with trailers showing off everything from dragon flying and mech piloting to Shadow of the Colossus-style boss fights. Developer Pearl Abyss certainly set its sights high with its first single-player game, and there is no denying that Crimson Desert is an incredibly ambitious game stitched together with as many ideas
Ooh,
as
I like the
humanly
drip.
possible.
I like the drip.
No rest till you're dead!
On a large scale, this stitched together approach works exceptionally well. While it doesn't reinvent the wheel, its open world is expansive, technologically impressive, and fascinating to explore, providing a tantalizing sandbox for the game's heavy-hitting combat.
I'm just curious if they have similar
It's on a
points
smaller
as
scale where
IGN.
cracks begin to show. Irritating design choices around inventory management and healing are prickly sources of frustration, and its quest design often refuses to play to the game's strengths. Because of this, Crimson Desert is a game I wanted to love more than I did. I cannot overstate how incredible its open world is, nor how much fun I had feeling like a medieval John Wick, but there are also areas where it could have been so much better.
Let's see how you
That's a skill
The
issue.
game's
He
story
completely
is
missed
one
the
such
belly
area.
flop.
It's not bad, but it's not particularly compelling either. Set on the vast continent of Pywell, you mostly play as a gruff, no-nonsense mercenary called Cliff. At the start of the game, you and your Grey Mane brothers are ambushed by a less honorable mercenary outfit known as the Black Bears. While most of your allies are injured and scattered to the wind, you're quite clearly killed before being chucked into a raging river. Up to this point, Crimson Desert's dialogue fits into the same mold as Game of Thrones, with a range of accents from across the British Isles and a loving proclivity for the C word.
Hiya. The f off.
Hey,
It quickly establishes
I'm all
a familiar
about
tone in line with its high
the
fantasy,
sailor talk.
but it doesn't take long before
I like
it
a game
starts
that
adding
doesn't
other
hold back
inflections on
on
top.
language.
Not only is Cliff brought back to life by a mysterious and technologically advanced force, but within the game's first hour, you're transported to a floating sky fortress by an unassuming beggar, given the aforementioned wingsuit and a futuristic grappling hook, and told that reality hangs in the balance unless you emerge as the hero of this world. Cliff takes all of this in his stride, and it's jarring how well he adapts to this extraordinary circumstances without questioning any of it. Crimson Desert isn't here to tell that kind of story, though. It's shallow, broadly painted in black and white, and adopts a tone that shifts between George R.R. Martin-style fantasy and sci-fi shenanigans, with plenty of villainous monologues before, during, and after many of its boss fights. Rather than following the adage, show, don't tell, it also opts for more of a don't show or tell approach. Events, locations, and characters are mentioned as though
Oh,
you should
yeah.
know who or what they are, but the narrative makes no effort to fill you in. Instead, information is stored within the Knowledge tab in the pause menu, where you can read small blurbs to find a little more detail on certain characters, factions, and so on.
Damn, that's a lot
This
of
would
people.
be fine as a way to expand
A lot
on
of
the
different
game's
characters.
world building by delving into some of its history and more incidental information, but it shouldn't be the only way to discover this stuff. At one point, for instance, I tackled a side quest that concluded with a one-on-one battle against Sigurd the Stag Lord. I didn't know who he was, and his monologuing throughout the fight made no sense to me. After defeating him, I checked out his newly added knowledge entry, and it said this: the king of a forgotten realm, erased from history as if he never existed. Though he lost his people, his riches, and even his sanity, he remains shackled to the crushing weight of a duty he refuses to abandon. That sounds like something I would have liked to find out naturally through the game's narrative, especially before going toe-to-toe with him. Yet the quest leading up to our battle centered on finding missing soldiers, with Sigurd showing up at the end to little fanfare. Other instances like this are common, and it's such a missed opportunity to present side quests that are actually interesting and memorable.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't
particularly
like-
when the
I don't like
work
how
has
much
already been
they're
done
spoiling
in the
right now.
Knowledge tab. This
I wish
happens
you
during
would
the main
not
story
spoil
too,
as
where it
much on the
often
fights
feels
and
like you're
stuff.
simply
Just
being
get to
led
the
from one objective
get to the
next
meat.
in lieu of any storytelling. I
Hey,
gave
yo.
money to a beggar not because the game gave me any reason to, but because it popped up as
Yeah.
my next objective.
I mean, I've seen
And
some
when
of
I needed
this
a new
already
outfit to
in some of
enter
the
Verdansk
videos, but
Castle, I obviously headed straight for a house in need of a chimney sweep for no discernible reason. Crimson Desert regularly lacks this connective narrative tissue, so it feels like you're merely going through the motions, following a quest log instead of embedding yourself in this world. To its credit, there is at least a ton of quest variety, from engaging in staggeringly large battles and tracking down a murderous outfit of crow-obsessed killers, to
Bro,
fighting a young boy
he's got a
named Sheik
whole
and toppling a
flamethrower. That's
merchant guild's
crazy, dude.
despotic leader. Outside of
there's- what
quests,
is
there
not
are
in this
also
game,
plenty of
bro?
distractions and ways to obtain and
I can't
lose
wait to
money.
learn that move.
You can hunt down various bounty targets, take on opponents in arm wrestling, hand-to-hand combat, archery duels, and rock, paper, scissors. Race horses, trade items in bulk based on current market trends, invest your money in a bank to accrue interest, fish and cook your own meals, chop down trees and mine for ore, and so much else. Some of these activities might be fairly simple, but there's a wide range of things to do, which adds to Pywell's appeal as a place worth exploring. There were a few times where I picked a direction and simply explored for hours on end, just for the sake of it. It takes a special kind of open world for me to do this, and Crimson Deserts is exactly that. Even looking at the map, which only shows location names for places you haven't visited yet, elicits a sense of adventure, with evocative names like Mistival Forest, the Crimson Wall,
that's cool,
Mountain
that's cool.
of Frozen Souls, and Rattlesnake Steppe, just urging you to seek them out.
Yeah, I
On
like
one of my
that.
sojourns, I reached the edge of the map and discovered a cove full of rocky spires, which I used my wingsuit to glide between. You can climb almost any surface in Crimson Desert, provided you have enough stamina to find solid ground before it runs out. So figuring out a way to traverse each spire becomes a sort of puzzle unto itself. I could tell dozens of stories like this about the sheer breadth of flora and fauna in its forests, the way trees and plants bustle in the wind, the world's impressive verticality, and how your lantern lights up the pitch black nights. There are ancient ruins to explore, insular puzzles to solve, and traversal is a treat, whether you're double jumping off cliffs and using your grappling hook to slingshot over the walls of an enemy base, or making use of a mech or jetpack to soar into the sky. This freedom of expression and depth is also apparent in Crimson Desert's excellent combat. Cliff hits with a visceral
Bro, that
ferocity
throw
that's
is
immediately
so
satisfying.
awesome, dude.
As you get to grips with a versatile style of combat, the
That's
more
literally gonna be
fluid
my
it
main
becomes as
move,
you
just
start
throwing
chaining
people.
together combos, thrusting his sword forward before leaping into a drop kick that ends with your downed opponent skewered on the tip of your blade. Enemies have a tendency to swarm in large numbers, and they don't wait their turn, forcing you to parry and dodge incoming blows as you reposition for another barrage of attacks.
Combat
You
looks
can
so
leap into
fun
the
in this
air and
game, bro.
return to Earth with an explosive slam, knocking over anyone unlucky enough to
Boom.
be in the vicinity. There's
Yeah,
a
it looks
range of
really good, man.
context-sensitive wrestling moves at your disposal, letting you suplex
Bro,
enemies into
did a straight
oblivion and
suplex. Oh
surprise
my
them
God, he
with
hit the
an
Rock
RKO
Lee,
out
bro.
of nowhere.
He hit the Rock Lee Gara dive bomb.
You can heave foes off cliffs,
That
pull them
that looks
towards
so
you with a
fun.
grappling hook, and bash them over the head with your shield.
Yeah,
Even The
dude.
skill tree is built around adding more moves
I can't
to your
wait. I
expansive
can't wait to look at the
repertoire,
skill tree.
ignoring flat stat improvements in favor of giving you more cool ways to
I honestly
dispense
like that.
punishment.
I
It's
like that.
disappointing then
Instead of
that
having
you're
like a just
frequently
like a
pulled away
stat.
from combat and exploration to manage your inventory. You only have access
Oof.
to a few slots.
Yeah, that'll
in
be
your backpack,
annoying. I
and
can't
while you
stand
can
inventory
expand it
management.
by completing side quests and purchasing extra pockets, absolutely everything takes up inventory space. That
Damn, it's a
means
pretty
any extra
in-depth.
weapons and armor. Aside from
That's actually a really in-depth like I didn't even realize it's like a Diablo style like inventory, because you have like you literally have different like jewelry and accessories. That's pretty cool. I didn't even think they were gonna get that into the inventory system like that, but I kind of like that.
the ones already equipped, all of the various crafting materials you need to upgrade your gear, the tools you need to use to acquire these materials, quest items that stay in your inventory even after you've finished the relevant quest. The main problem with this is that you don't have any storage access. You own both a camp and a house, but there's nowhere set aside for you to stash items you might need later.
What?
Upgrade materials
That's
aren't
crazy.
that easy to come by, considering you need to mine them yourself.
You don't have a
but
storage
I
chest?
regularly had to sell or drop items I could have used to improve my gear just to create space for new items. Cooking is
Oof.
particularly frustrating due to how many ingredients each recipe requires. Early on, it's hard to fit them all into your inventory at once, despite the fact that eating food is the only way to heal. You can eat rare ingredients, but the healing effect is negligible, so you'll want to cook some proper meals. However, this creates its own issues, as some food items are incredibly difficult to come by. You can purchase certain ingredients, but others can only be attained by looting dead enemies. Rummaging through pockets might only result in a single lentil, and when you clear a camp, the enemy's bodies
Is that their
respawn,
currency, lentil?
so you can be often left with nothing. Thankfully, the remaining items are automatically transported to a chest back at your camp, but it's just awkward enough to become
Yo,
annoying.
bro's
over
looking like a
numerous
Templar
hours.
Knight.
It's a needlessly aggravating
I
system.
love it.
Not to mention how silly it is
Going on
when
a
you need to
crusade.
take a break in the middle of a mission to try and find a cooking pot. The good news is that issues like these can be rectified with a few tweaks. Whether that happens or not,
Lentil's a
remains to be
vegetable.
seen,
Okay.
and the
I've
quality
heard.
of quests
I swear
and
there's
weapon
games
narrative
where
are much
lentil
harder
is the name of a
shortcomings to
currency they'll
fix.
go watch.
Yet, despite these sore
I
spots,
swear.
Crimson Desert is a frequently thrilling
Like in
game,
fantasy worlds, I've
elevated
heard
by
lentils
open
be
world,
called
well worth exploring.
they're like
and hard-hitting
a currency for
combat
some
that
reason or
delights
another.
with its depth and emphasis on player expression. It might not always
I know
be
about
the
the-
most
the
cohesive
lentils, I
game,
know those.
mixing high fantasy with steampunk and sci-fi elements, but there's nothing else quite like it. And I can't help but be impressed.
Bro,
by
that
how
throw,
little
man, I
restraint
love that.
Pearl Abyss has shown in its commitment to delightful absurdity.
Dude, this world
In
looks
some
so
respects,
dope,
Crimson Desert
man.
might not be too good to be true.
7,
but
okay.
It is a world worth getting lost in.
So far, we got a 6 and we got a 7. All right. Anyways, yeah, I will, dude. But do you see the difference? Do you see the difference in IGN's review and GameSpot's review? Like GameSpot, the dude who did the review for GameSpot, like you could tell he actually like he talked about the game and the exploration. He didn't talk about just going from start of the game to the finish of the game, you know? Like it felt like everything was negative in IGN's review. GameSpot, at least they were like more critical. They weren't fucking just like, oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Like, you know, that I like more critical reviews, you know? But I like that there's a balance. All right. Let's see the comments. Definitely looking forward. I haven't even, we should have looked at the comments on game what do you call it? On IGN. We might have to go back and look at IGN comments. They're probably gonna get roasted. Said that there's no storage while talking about how difficult some cooking ingredients are to come by. You open that chest that says storage. So did you forget about that while writing the script, or am I missing something here? I didn't see that. Was that a storage chest though? Maybe it was. Oh, bro gave the spoiler 7 out of 10. Yeah, some people like to just come straight to the bottom for this. Bro scored it lower than Veilguard. I didn't play Veilguard, so I can't really. Dreamcast guy gave it a 9.5. I trust him. Okay. I want to see real quick. Let's see what IGN. Remember that IGN placed Veilguard at the same level as Elden Ring. Okay, well I'm guessing Veilguard was not a good game. Can't believe I was waiting for this only to be a review so far. I wasn't focused on leveling up my loot for a lot of this game. The boss fight scaled. That is exactly what I'm talking about with this dude in his review. He literally gave no time to build his character. He went straight through the story, which involves you fighting several bosses, which aren't going to be easy. And he expects like, and he's having trouble and he's complaining about it. Yeah, dude. Like it's fucking crazy, bro. That's IGN in a nutshell, though. Damn, I was waiting for a full review. Yeah, and they didn't even give it a final score. Will be a classic 7. Yeah, probably. Honestly, they will. Yeah, Roach King. Yes, Asmongold for sure will roast the living shit out of IGN once he sees this. Worse score than Concord. That's actually crazy. I didn't even. Because I didn't really give a shit about Concord. I didn't even know what their score was, but I knew they scored it like pretty decent. But that's crazy. Why would you only do the main quest and not explore the open world? That's probably why he feels. That's exactly why he feels this way. Are you kidding me? Someone please mod in a new control setup. Just remember, guys. I can't and I guard a 7. Yikes. I didn't level up my gear. Why does this game scale so aggressively? No Atreus telling you all the solutions 5 seconds into the puzzle. Yeah, no thanks, IGN. Haven't forgotten your Concord High Guard and other reviews. Oh man, he just cooked them. Go play table tennis, man. Can't wait for the other 6. Veilguard was the newest Dragon Age. Oh, I do remember that now. Yeah, bro. I heard there was a lot of controversy over that game. Yeah, that game was getting cooked. GameSpot gave it a 7 out of 10. See what this guy's gonna say. That shuts up all the remember IGNs. Gave Veil. I don't know. All right, so now let's see who else has a review. I think Gamer Ranks. I wanted to look at Gamer Ranks if he did one because I like his reviews. He actually does really good, like in-depth reviews. Let's see if I don't know if he got a review copy though. But I bet he did. He had to have, right? He's pretty. Oh, Game Informer. They did one too. 10 minutes because of all that. The people. Oh, okay. Veilguard was in. Okay. Did I not? I think it's truly hard to review open world RPG game like this because it hits a certain group of people who love these. Yeah, exactly, bro. That's the thing. You're gonna have a lot of bias and stuff. Like, especially in this type of game, which is a specific genre, it's like, it's a huge open world game, like with RPG, a lot of RPG elements. So it's like, you know, if you're not into that shit, then, you know, kick rocks. All right, let's well, let me fix the camera real quick. I didn't even. So yeah, we'll check out. I don't see Gamer Ranks. I'm kind of surprised he doesn't have one. Let me go on his channel real quick just to double check on their channel. Whatever. Yeah, he doesn't have one. Maybe he does it after post launch. He probably does deep dives though, so that would make sense. All right, we'll check out Game Informer, bro. I didn't even know they did reviews, man. I always knew Game Informer as the magazine, the gamer magazine, you know.
Take flight.
All right, let's check it out, Game Informer. Hopefully they don't give too many spoilers away. There's so much in this game, though. I feel like it's hard to spoil everything, but still, I like as little as much revealed as possible would be nice. And GameSpot kind of did a bad job of that.
The world is yours to explore.
The first meal you learn to cook in Crimson Desert is clear soup, a broth.
Bro, I just said no spoilers, bro. Like, are we serious right now, Game Informer? Like, I can't play the game now, bro. Now that I know the first meal I'm gonna have is clear soup, I don't know, man. I might have to. Can I cancel my pre-order? Is there a way to do that?
The mixture of simple water, meat, and lentils. It looks nice and is probably filling, but would no doubt be a bit simple and leave you wanting something with a little bit more depth of flavor. As
It's interesting they chose to open with food
for Crimson Desert at large. A beautiful, exploration-rich open
Dude,
world.
I can't get over this game, bro. How the aesthetic of the game, man.
Of little frustrations and a stark lack of narrative depth.
Wait. 7 review. What does that mean?
In Crimson
Is it
Desert,
they already
we
scored
follow
it?
the exploits of Cliff, the leader of a sort of fantasy peacekeeping corps known as the Greymanes, who help with the safety of the country of Payloon. But after an ambush, the company is scattered and Cliff is killed, only for him to be revived by supernatural beings and set on a path to save the world from dark forces.
There are beings who have brought chaos to your world.
I'm just gonna, if I know they're
There's
like
wondrous
doing
sights, from a clockwork
cinematic
city where
stuff, I'm
machine
gonna skip
beings
it.
tend nearby farms
All
to
the
a
fluff.
labyrinth of esoteric ruins floating in the sky. Crimson Desert is a visual and technical marvel at every turn, a beautifully realized
yeah.
world from a pure aesthetic standpoint. The entire world is rendered as one location, and you can quite literally see every inch of it from any high point. It's breathtaking. But the first major downside that becomes quite apparent early on is that the game doesn't have much of a story to tell or any major themes to
Yeah, they've
explore.
already kind of said that though. It's not a surprise. They literally, like the devs have talked about how this. It's not a
One way to
story-rich
describe
game. It's more
Crimson
about the
Desert's
combat.
main story is that it's simply a mess. The plot fluctuates from hard to follow to downright nonsensical at times, more focused on delivering a sense of spectacle and bombast than anything else. But it also clearly wants to have these big emotional moments that are supposed to have some kind of payoff that just isn't there. You get all these admittedly cool sequences and big fantasy set pieces, but without any of the backing of real character growth and depth. That even applies to the main character Cliff himself, who feels just one step removed from a silent protagonist. This means that despite the beauty of the world, there's nothing to ground you in it or make you truly care about the things you're doing. The one exception here is reuniting all of the Greymanes, where the game's sole emotional core lies. Seeing your camp come together and grow is
Hell yeah,
undeniably
bro.
satisfying, and there are some meaningful
Yeah,
moments
I
of
love
fun
the
with
camp
each
system.
look
Looks
at its
really
allies.
sick
But the
in this
makes
game.
all of this
It reminds me of
optional
Red
when you
Dead.
through, meaning you might miss most of it. You'll likely see a lot of
I love Witcher
comparisons
because of the
between
open
Crimson
world,
Desert, Breath of the
but if I
Wild,
was to
and
go into
Dragon's
certain
Dogma.
areas at low level,
The
I'd just do the
inspiration from
story.
those two
You'd be in a
titans of
severe.
open
Yeah, I
world games
remember,
is
bro.
clear,
I
as
remember playing
Crimson
Witcher
Desert
very.
similarly has a minimalistic
very shortly.
approach to everything.
It was hard
There are
if you
very few
didn't
tutorials
level
requiring
up.
you to learn everything through experimentation and practice. The game doesn't have any immediately available fast travel, instead requiring you to discover fast travel points through exploration, and there's a heavy focus on puzzle solving, using your myriad skills to do so. There are so many different features and mechanics in Crimson Desert that there's no way I can properly describe everything. This is a game that wants to be everything, the textbook definition of an open world. You have base building and soldier management as you rebuild the Greymanes. There's crunchy melee combat that even integrates absurd wrestling moves.
Hell yeah.
Realistic physics and complex Zelda-esque puzzles are scattered throughout the world. One encounters hundreds of little side quests and contains stories to discover. The number of things to see and do in Crimson Desert is utterly overwhelming, but there's a
love
real
it.
sense
I
of
love it.
discovery baked into the fabric of the world that's unbelievably compelling. discovering a sentient tree with a hat that I needed to steal for some magical beans, or stumbling onto a Spirit Knight boss that, when defeated, unlocked a wild new weapon ability that drastically altered my playstyle. It's these moments of surprise and wonder that make Crimson Desert shine. But outside of that, unfortunately, the game often feels like it's simply stretched too thin, trying to do too many things and not really refining any singular idea. Take combat, for example. The game's action combat initially feels frenetic and intense, in line with a straight-up action game, getting drastically more interesting in the late game when you've unlocked a wide array of skills. But before you reach that point where everything's unlocked, it's surprisingly tedious. Each enemy you kill typically has a short execution animation that plays out, something that's not bothersome against a few enemies, but becomes aggravating when you're trying to take over an area and fight off 40 enemies. This makes taking over bases a slog. And while there are a handful of enjoyably challenging boss battles, there are just as many, if not more, that are miserable affairs. Bosses have huge, wide-reaching attacks and very short windows for when you can cause damage, compounded by small arenas that plaster a big "return to the battlefield" warning if you stray an inch or two in the wrong direction.
That's kind of annoying.
Crimson Desert really wants you to explore and find Abyss artifacts to upgrade Cliff's stats and binding combat abilities, as well as gather resources through mining, woodcutting,
and that's
more.
That's where the IGN guy went wrong. He just tried to just go straight to the store, no Abyss artifacts.
Everything accordingly, you'll get easily beaten into the ground by bosses, but without a tangible stat or leveling system, it's hard to tell if you're actually prepared enough for a given mission or boss. Crimson Desert has some nauseatingly frustrating boss battles, except for the handful that bizarrely can be beaten immediately with very specific gimmicks. The more abilities you unlock, the messier combat can get too.
Yo, that was dope.
Different button presses to keep track of for very specific attacks. Then there's the healing system, as the only way Cliff can heal is with food in his inventory or meals you've cooked at bonfires. But bosses make you blow through your food items, meaning you're constantly on the hunt for new food, spending hours gathering items and cooking them up. And therein lies the crux of issues with Crimson Desert. How much of the game feels like it's simply wasting your time? That's largely because, like with the cooking, nearly every facet of the game feels intentionally designed to drag things out in a way that's not enjoyable in the slightest. There's an emphasis on exploration, but that lack of easy fast travel gets truly aggravating when you're spending 20 to 30 minutes riding between quests. Locations where you solve puzzles to unveil Abyss artifacts can also be used to fast travel, but only if they've been solved. That means if you can't figure out a puzzle right away and need to come back later, you won't get a fast travel point. Similarly, if you want to upgrade your gear, you need to spend time grinding out materials, cutting down trees, hunting for ore, etc. Even the very design of quests feels needlessly drawn out. Quests that could have been quickly over in a matter of minutes end up taking closer to 15. That kind of design is spread across the entire game. There might not have been as much of a problem if there were an interesting narrative component, but there's nothing truly compelling happening with most of the game's storytelling. Most of these side quests are doing for the tangible items and equipment, or the reward of adding another inventory slot. Limited inventory and management are other issues you constantly have to grapple with, like making frequent trips to town or camps to unload items. Those little frustrations and issues with Crimson Desert,
that is kind of annoying. I don't like inventory management too much.
Aggravating. Crimson Desert's true problem is that it's simply over-designed. There are too many moving pieces. Even as in-depth as we've gone here, there's still a half dozen systems we haven't touched on, like trading and banking. And perhaps, most crucially of all, not
I did hear
all
about
that is
those.
fun.
There's like different currencies apparently too,
Head into ancient ruins,
from like
that
city to city.
constantly brought to a grinding halt by an impressive boss battle that took hours, an inscrutable puzzle with a solution that required an ability that you might not yet have, or wonky controls that would send you careening off the side of a cliff to your doom, forcing a respawn. And while Crimson Desert isn't a particularly buggy experience, especially for a game this size, there were some hard crashes in our reviewers' time, and a handful of bugs. Wagons getting completely stuck in a building, forcing you to go back to camp and pick the option to retrieve it. Then
they had that launch. I didn't know that.
Moments in Crimson Desert, atop mountain peaks and wandering through bustling city streets with the little stories therein are truly something special. However, the game's lack of a meaningful main narrative and over-reliance on padding things out undoubtedly.
Turn the music down, my guy.
There's a foundation with Crimson Desert that
Seven.
can be built upon. Considering this is Pearl Abyss's first single-player game, one wonders how much of this can be chalked up to growing pains. Crimson Desert has something special buried underneath its surface if all those unneeded layers can be cut out.
They say England's finest swordsman is a Greymane. It was an honor to duel him.
For more, check out our written review on GameInformer.
So we got IGN 6, GameSpot 7, and Game Informer 7. Yeah, you'd have to go to bank and swap currencies. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, I liked his review a little more for the most part. Let's see. Note for the editor. The music, dude, for real, bro. That music got so loud. Bro, you gotta turn that down, my guy. The music drowning out the monotone voiceover is insane. Cooking them. Music is a bit loud. Yep. It's not the same thing towards that second half of that. Game has 7 written all over it since it was first announced. All right, bro's just trying to rage bait. You already know. But I mean, you know. So basically it's a single player MMO. I mean, what's funny is the game started as an MMO and then they decided to change directions and make it a single player game. So it has the scale, the world scale of an MMO. So it kind of makes sense, you know, that there's going to be a lot of tedious kind of mechanics and functions that they kind of probably didn't refine that they could have refined, you know, but they wanted to just kind of get the game going. So, but there's always room for patches to kind of quality of life stuff, which reminds me, they're doing a day one patch when the game comes out. So it makes me wonder if they're actually going to like if these guys, all the reviewers had the game with that patch in it or not, or if like all the stuff in the day one patch is going to be like maybe stuff that got criticized by all these reviewers and early play testers. I don't know. We'll find out though. Yeah, not wasting time on a 150-hour game trying to do everything. They can keep that. Well, oof. You know, not for everybody. I'll definitely try to have fun on it though. All right. Oh, Fextra Life.
In this Crimson Desert review, we'll be taking an in-depth
another dude
look
I like
at
to
what is
watch.
one of the most anticipated titles of the year.
Fextra's a good one too.
Developed by Pearl Abyss, the team behind the massive MMO Black Desert, this title has been under the microscope since its reveal. Throughout the years, we've seen flashy trailers, the unique combat, and the promises of,
we got 4K.
of a living, breathing world. Now that Crimson Desert is finally
I'm
here,
on
we
a
have to ask the
1440p
$70
monitor.
question: is Crimson Desert the next evolution of the open world genre, or is it another case of style over substance? In this video, we'll be looking into aspects of the game such as the story and setting, gameplay mechanics, audio performance, and whether the sheer amount of padding in this world makes it worth your time. So what is Crimson Desert all about? Crimson Desert is set on the continent of Pywell, a rugged, war-torn land.
All right, I'm not
feels
gonna
like a
lie.
blend
Did
of
they?
historical medieval Europe and high fantasy grit.
Okay, I'm gonna skip the story and setting because it's literally just regurgitated from all the reviewers. We're just gonna go right into the actual like what they think about combat and mechanics.
Moving along to the gameplay, this is where Crimson Desert truly defines itself, for better and for worse. Pearl Abyss has always been known for their combat systems, and they've attempted to push the envelope here with something they call action-adventure physics. In Crimson Desert, the basics of combat are your light and heavy attacks, parrying, blocking, and dodging. There are 2 other playable characters in the game, Damien, who features agile gameplay, and Unka, the tanky character who can dish out wide, devastating attacks.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, bro. If you notice, IGN, GameSpot, and Game Informer did not mention once about swapping to the other 2 playable characters. Is that not kind of weird? Like, how one-tracked are these dudes when they're playing the game? Or did they just not know they could swap characters? And because it's like, why? Unless I'm just having like a memory lapse, they didn't say shit about that once in those last 3 reviews we just watched. That's kind of funny. That's very strange too.
The main protagonist that drives the main campaign is none other than the leader of the Greymanes, Cliff. There is no leveling or XP system like a traditional RPG, but the method of strengthening the characters is unlocking their skills by consuming Abyss artifacts, or learning them by observing NPCs, or as you progress through the main campaign.
Okay.
And progression also includes increasing the character's primary stats such as health, stamina, and spirit, and by refining gear pieces that consist of weapons and armor. Combat in Crimson Desert is, for the most part, pretty fun. Although the standard is executing light and heavy attacks, what makes it interesting is the addition of performing follow-up moves that you acquire from unlocking skills, which feels more physical. Cliff and the other playable characters can perform hand-to-hand combos, fight while on horseback, they can grapple enemies, suplex them into the ground, and chain together flashy armed moves. There is a weight to hits that feels very satisfying. Although at the start it may feel like a slow burn that you can only gain access to some of each character's basic set of skills, trust me when I say that combat will start to feel exciting once you progress through the main campaign, which opens up a variety of creative yet fun skills that you can learn to take down your enemies.
Ooh.
It's easily the strongest part of the gameplay loop and is what kept me coming back even when the other systems were starting to grate on me. With that being said, the fun aspect of Crimson Desert's combat is often hampered by the fact that the controls feel clunky and awkward.
Yep.
Navigating the characters when in combat feels like you're trying to steer a ship rather than a human being, and with the sheer amount of skills that you can learn, I found myself forgetting and pressing the required input to perform the unique skill, and ended up just mashing the buttons for a light and heavy attack. Apart from that, there's a straight...
Now, see, one thing I'd like for him to clarify what she doesn't is, are you on mouse and keyboard or are you on controller? Obviously, they're probably doing this review on PC, but some people play on controller, so I would be curious to know if like they're playing on mouse and keyboard.
Strange acceleration to the character's movement that makes precise platforming or even just looting items in a small room feel like a chore. This even extends to the cumbersome lock-on system. The game uses a button for locking on that is also used for other essential actions, making it nearly impossible to use effectively mid-combat without fumbling. For the most part, I ended up relying on the soft lock, which is fine for fodder enemies, but a nightmare when fighting bosses. In most modern RPGs, the transition from melee to ranged is seamless. In Crimson Desert, I find it challenging to use, almost to the point of not even using any of my ranged weapons due to how aiming drops off every time you switch to a bow or firearm.
Damn.
Imagine you're fighting a massive boss, you've learned its patterns, you're in the zone, and you see an opening to hit a weak point with an arrow. You pull out your bow, the camera instantly snaps away from the boss, your lock-on disappears, and you're suddenly aiming at a random surface or nowhere at all while the boss is charging a lethal attack. It's a baffling design choice that actively punishes you for using your full arsenal. To make matters worse, the camera angle in boss fights is often too tight, meaning you're frequently fighting the UI and camera more than the actual target. When it comes to exploration, there are multiple locations that you can discover within unique regions.
I've seen that dude in a lot of
and
videos.
also the Sky region.
The drill guy. He looks like a big daddy
Each
from
region is uniquely
BioShock.
designed to fit its theme, and there is an abundance of activities that you can do in Crimson Desert. From doing commissions for NPCs, solving puzzles, performing life activities such as fishing, mining, farming, even cleaning,
Fishing looks pretty
managing the
dope
Grey
in
Mane
this
camp,
game.
trading with factions, housing, liberating areas from hostile groups, building relationships with NPCs, competing in minigames, and more. In addition, these activities allow for a variety of content that is fun to complete and sometimes vital to character and equipment
Okay, he's on
progression.
controller for sure.
Personally,
I see the
completing
button
side quests
prompt.
and winning
I guess I
minigames
could've
felt
looked
rewarding.
at that earlier.
However, one of my biggest gripes with Crimson Desert is the sheer amount of clutter. It feels like the developers had hundreds of different ideas and decided to include all of them without asking if they actually added value to the experience. In line with exploration is how you learn about various aspects of the game world, from learning about the people you meet to the locations you discover, the enemies you encounter, acquiring new skills through observation, and even learning the items that seem new to Cliff. It is quite amusing at first that you need to observe what a carrot or a rock looks like to learn about it, but later on it just fails to add realism or immersion, and instead just adds a layer of tedious busywork to an already bloated game. When it comes to quests, the game features main quests, faction quests, and challenges. Faction quests are your side quests, while challenges are mini-tasks that involve combat or life activities like solving puzzles, crafting certain items, learning and executing specific combat objectives. While the main story is compelling, I did find that the side quests are basic at best. It's not bad, it's not great either. Some unique quests piqued my interest, but later I found some to be quite inconvenient, and I just did them for the sake of expanding my inventory slots. You'll find yourself fetching items, killing X number of enemies, or delivering items across vast distances with very little narrative payoff. There is a distinct lack of player decision-making in some of these quests, and although you can discover various ways to approach completing a quest, you don't have that much influence in the world through dialogue. You are simply a vessel for quest givers' needs. This wouldn't be as much of a problem if the game didn't force you to sit through unskippable major dialogues. Crimson Desert is, without a doubt, a visually appealing game, and to my surprise, I'm also satisfied with how pleasing the voice acting and audio are. I appreciated the musicality that plays when you're in a safe space and how the thrill builds up to the sound of dramatic battle themes. The voice acting is a major highlight here. It's incredibly strong, especially for an Asian-developed game, where the English localization can sometimes feel like an afterthought.
Mhm.
Cliff has a gravely seasoned voice that reminds me of Geralt from The Witcher, but with a bit more
Okay.
vulnerability. The supporting cast, from the grizzled veterans to the younger recruits, all feel distinct and well realized. It's the kind of voice work that actually makes you care about the cutscenes, which is a good thing, because you're going to be seeing a lot of them. And even though I previously mentioned that some locations felt as if they were an afterthought, I still appreciated the beauty of how the world is crafted. For the most part, I found myself hiking mountains just to admire the landscape of each region or find good spots
Damn,
where
bro,
I
it
could
looks
stop and
so
take
nice.
a screenshot of the view. When it comes to performance, I did encounter multiple bugs that were bothersome.
on PC.
Sometimes interacting with your horse wouldn't work.
RTX
Some of the prompts of the
3060.
items in your inventory wouldn't update. Even if you looked
Ryzen
at them
5.
already, some inputs would not
Boy,
work,
get your
like
shit up.
gliding. Placing some furniture
Come on,
in the
man.
house wouldn't work, and FPS would occasionally
I got a
drop
better
in
PC
scenarios
than
where I
that.
would fight
Fextra,
hundreds
come
of
on,
enemies
dog.
during a quest. While some of this is charming in an open world sense, many of the bugs were genuinely frustrating. Open world games like Crimson Desert usually live or die by their dollar per hour value. You can easily spend 100 to 200 plus hours in Crimson Desert if you're a completionist, considering that the map is filled with points of interest and MMO style tasks. However, if you trim the fat, meaning you ignore the side quests, puzzles, mini activities, the identification busy work, and some repetitive content, you're left with a much shorter, albeit focused, experience. The problem is that the fat is so baked into the progression that you almost have to engage with it to improve your character's skills, equipment, and inventory slots. This makes the game feel much longer than it actually is, but not so much in a rewarding way.
I'm
At the
definitely
standard
not gonna
price
like
of
that.
$69.99, I have a hard time recommending this as a day one purchase for everyone. If you're a hardcore fan of Pearl Abyssus combat and you don't mind a high degree of jank, you'll find plenty of love here. But the average gamer looking for a polished, immersive experience like Ghost of Tsushima or The Witcher, the clunky controls and design choices might be too much of a barrier for those players. Final thoughts. My experience with Crimson Desert has been both a journey of the remarkable and dismay. I would be fully immersed in a high-stakes mercenary battle, suplexing enemies and feeling like a total badass as I go through the main story, diving into the unknown, only to be suddenly pulled out of that immersion because of some setback in terms of gameplay design. The world of Pywell is massive and full of things to do, but some of its core systems require further work to fine-tune even the obvious aspects that can attract players to continuing to play rather than push them away. The combat, most of the visuals, voice acting, and main story are a slam dunk for the developers, but other aspects such as the UI, the controls, the MMO-style padding, bring down the overall score. Crimson Desert is an 8 out of 10 that could have been a 9 out of 10 or even a 10 with better controls
There you go.
and less clutter.
Our first
It's a
8.
wait for sale or wait for a 2.0
first
patch
8,
for a lot
chat.
of players. If you want to deep dive into a new world and you
He
can
put
ignore some of
8.1.
these flaws and setbacks, you'll definitely have a fun time.
Y'all can't
But
see
don't
it,
expect it to be a
8.1,
title that
but-
reinvents the wheel when it comes to an immersive single-player experience.
All right. Uh-oh. What happened? Uh-oh. We're frozen, chat. Hold up. It froze on me. I think Google Chrome crashed. But hey, that, I mean, you know, that was a pretty good review. All right, there we go. All right. All right, let's see what all right, I got it working again. Dude, they gotta say, what an amazing refresh. Damn, not what I was hoping to hear. Appreciate the honesty though. Finally, an honest review. All stuff I heard from testers without big platforms. Yeah. I have noticed there was a lot more positive leaning on all the playtesting stuff that they like, you know, before the reviews. It seemed like you could definitely tell there's like a shift change a little bit. Like a tone change in like how they're explaining stuff. 8 out of 10 score. Being away for sales just crazy. Pure cowardice on Fextra. Just say the game sucks with your full chest. Oof. I don't know if that's the case, but been waiting for this review specifically, he says. Are there any cool cave system or ruins underground areas to discover? I think there are caves and mines. Footage doesn't seem to match the voiceover critique. Would have loved to see an example of that bow aim. Yeah, because he was talking about the bow aim thing, and then he like hits a shot. I was like, what? Yeah, I don't know. That was kind of weird. 8 In the same breath, wafer sale. Yeah, that is kind of weird to say. Like, I think he meant for like people who aren't like used to like or just our open world RPGs. Like if they're kind of new to like big open world games, it might not be for them. Jack of all trades, master of none. Yeah. It looks like it'll still be fun though. All right, I'm trying to think. There's one more. I'm trying to think. There's I think we saw yeah, Gamer Ranks doesn't have one. We got Jor Raptor. Let's see how long his is. I'm curious. I've seen Jor Raptor, so let's check it out.
Is a special game. You probably think you have an
I
idea
watched some of his
how
early
much content
gameplay.
there is in this world, but whatever you think, you are wrong. For example, you can easily spend 50 hours in the first area alone before you move on to the 4 other regions. You rarely have that feeling of a next-gen game these days, where you put the controller down just to take it all in because you cannot believe what you're seeing. Well, Crimson Desert is that type of game. It's so much fun to get lost in this world that you're willing to put up with its many flaws. I like to compare it to a really good TV show with amazing final episodes, but some mediocre middle parts that you have to sit through. In the case of Crimson Desert, those filler
like an
episodes
anime with
are
too much
found in
filler.
extremely annoying checkpoints, bosses, puzzles, and other systems that could have easily been improved before launch, but will likely be addressed in the weeks and months to come. You will be picking up a ton of loot in Crimson Desert, whether it's stuff for your camp, equipment to improve your character, food to stay alive, many crafting resources, items for the other playable characters that you, by the way, switch between GTA style. Like there's a ton
I was wondering.
of
I wanted to see this. They didn't show it yet. I'm glad he finally showed. Somebody showed it. Everyone kept talking about the GTA style character swap. I wanted to see it. That's pretty cool.
And was spent in the inventory menu. So we got the review code 2 weeks before launch, and after 1 week they released an update to address the feedback that we shared in a special Discord they set up for this review process. In this update they increased the starting inventory from 20 to 50 and gave more ways to earn inventory slots. I've never seen developers address feedback during a review process.
That's pretty crazy.
Now the inventory management is still far from perfect, but this does show that the developers are very reactive and will probably address many shortcomings during post-launch. Now I don't think this should stop you from...
That's one thing I'm really looking forward to post-launch is like, I feel like, just like he said, and just in the review copies, they were making updates for them. I feel like they're going to really react to like the community's feedback on all the stuff that, you know, that people are not so happy about and the negative stuff. And they're going to probably throw patches like, you know, on like what I'm hoping on a consistent basis. And it'll make the game, it'll just slowly refine the game if it is, you know, wherever it needs fine tuning.
From jumping into this world now, although you will likely have a much better experience if you wait a month or 2. Don't expect the best story or very engaging dialogue. The main character in Crimson Desert is its world and setting. It's rare these days that we can experience a brand new IP where you can constantly be surprised because you're not familiar with the rules of the world. This can lead to very awesome moments, like early on when you go after the Reed Devil and have to fight an army of his minions before reaching the enormous rice field where a really cool boss fight takes place. Every boss battle has these super cool fighting sequences before, after, and during the battle. Pearl Abyss is not holding back in terms of cinematics, which often makes it feel like you're part of something epic. Every story arc has its primary topic that mostly gets resolved by the end with its own iconic set pieces and moments. Again, like a good TV show episode, only Crimson Desert is dropping 8 seasons worth of episodes in one go. So yes, don't expect PlayStation Studios level writing, let alone what Rockstar is able to produce, but still the characters have personality, there are large stakes that make the main missions enjoyable, and it also gives you that Game of Thrones sense of scale with multiple factions fighting for power and having their own troubles and worries, and we as Cliff are a great pawn that can help turn the tide. The main quest is also a great way to progress through the open world, because sure, you can explore the world very early on, but it's not as welcoming as, say, a Red Dead Redemption 2 or Ghost of Yotei. While it was always said that Crimson Desert is an action-adventure game and not an RPG because you cannot make dialogue choices, for example, I overall simply don't agree, as your character's power is extremely important.
Yo,
and the
what are
world is
things?
designed
They're
for
like
an
mechs.
MMORPG. There's no
Bro,
difficulty
what? That's
setting you can select,
crazy.
but every new region has more difficult enemies, as if there's a hidden
Yo,
level requirement
what this
for
dude's
each
trying
zone.
to...
Which means
He's
that if you want to go to a new
mounted
zone
on a
before the main
giant,
story
like,
takes you
warthog.
there, so with very underpowered gear,
Like a
they will
boar.
easily be swarmed by enemies
That's
and
sick.
one-shot by bosses. Some big cities or encampments are also occupied by enemies, so not really accessible until you complete the associated mission. Meaning that you cannot really engage with a lot of the open world content when you go to an area before you're supposed to. This does not
what?
mean that your
That's
curiosity will not be rewarded, as there are encampments in these
When
late
I
game
was a
zones
young
that can give you
warthog.
quests that you can already complete, although for some of them you do have to fight
Bro,
enemies or bosses.
the goblin dude
that
had
will be
the
way too strong.
gnarliest
You can also
mustache.
find some gear already lying around that you can pick up, or reach some shopkeepers a bit earlier than if you would follow the main quest. But it's not always a very pleasant experience compared to some other open world games, so it's overall best if you stay in the zone of your current main quest. But Crimson Desert is still a very good open world experience if you understand its rules. The side content is really good, with lengthy missions that end in very cool
Bro was
boss
not even
fights that
pinned in there.
reward you
That's
with unique
crazy.
equipment. There are many
That was
factions
corny.
that need your help to fight rival clans or seek out traders, and you will miss entire villages and special unlocks
Yo,
if you
bro.
don't take the time to explore the world. It really
Bro,
feels alive
that
in its
tree
own way.
boss
There's
looks
not one, but a
crazy.
couple of huge cities
Or
with
whatever
top
he
NPCs
is.
walking around. Crimson Desert just delivers
Crazy,
in
dude.
terms of scale, in the amount of stuff that there is in this world. These people on the street don't really have their own schedule, and some of them will just stand around, although they also improved that already with an update before release. But the fact that
Nice.
you always see a huge wall with castles in the distance, or an enormous
Yeah,
tower
that's cool,
and other
man.
settlements, it's rare that the game keeps that sense of mystery even after 50
Yeah,
hours
that's
or more.
insane,
You
bro.
simply want to see what the game throws at you next. It also really helps that the combat is an absolute blast. Hitting these enemies, dodging their moves, taking them out, it all feels amazing. The amount of depth in combat and skills, combined with the cool items with special effects, ensures that you constantly feel a sense of growth. Even after 50 and I would assume 100 hours, you're still learning new ways to take on enemies. Now, a big difference versus other open world games is that you're often fighting an enormous group of enemies, something that
Yeah,
will
I
only
noticed
grow
that. It's
as
like
you get
Dynasty
further into the
Warrior-esque.
game. There are more enemies in an enemy camp than you need to kill to liberate that camp. It starts with 100%, and by taking enemies out, you want to lower that number to 0.
Oh,
But no
okay.
kidding, this means that you're fighting dozens of enemies at the same time, and sometimes can easily spend 30 minutes just cutting through bodies.
Yeesh.
I would have preferred smaller groups that require more tactical play, because now I just found
Yeah.
one tactic that worked really well and would just spam that to not get overwhelmed. As the moment you give the enemies enough room to react, it can be over for you. Now, luckily, the more tactical play can be found during the many boss battles. So an important thing to know is that while you can try, it will be very hard or almost impossible to just mainline the game, as in every act you will face a challenging boss that puts your skill and gear to the test. Unlike Souls games, you
Okay.
can stock up on health items if you farm them, so have many ways to heal
Okay, that's
yourself
good.
during the fight, but that
I like
still
that.
doesn't make these battles less punishing. It is satisfying to learn boss patterns and which moves work, and to see that all the time you spend upgrading your loadout has a huge impact on your damage and survivability. But still, a lot of the bosses can feel overwhelming and will easily take half an hour or longer to beat. Nothing
Oof.
wrong with that, but again, it is something
that's
we don't
Elden
see
Ring-esque.
often in
That's like
non-Souls-like
Souls-like.
open world games, so good to know before jumping in. Some fights
Yeah.
are also not
I like
well
that, though,
designed,
having
with
to,
bosses
like,
being way too
kinda figure out a
aggressive,
boss.
making it hard to react to anything.
Oh my
and causing
goodness.
rapid game over screens.
Damn.
Also, the fact that cutscenes between phases can't be skipped, only sped up, makes repeating a hard boss less enjoyable. You can
Ooh,
always
yeah, I
give
don't
up
like
and try the
that.
boss
I
again
don't like
later,
that.
but this does mean that you have to travel all the way back to the boss
They should
arena,
just have
which
a
often
skip.
sets you back a lot of time, as fast travel points are few and far between. Crimson Desert just often gets in its own way.
Bro's fighting a
Sometimes
whole
when
gorilla.
You fail, you spawn quite far back and have to repeat puzzles you've already completed, easily
What?
adding 10
Ooh,
minutes
I
to
don't like
each
that.
attempt,
I don't like
which
that.
especially sucks when you die for reasons outside of your control. There are quite a few
Oh,
puzzles in the game, and
no,
these
he
are great
fell.
if you like to wreck your brain.
That's gonna be
as
me
there
for
are
real,
often
chat.
no
That's gonna be
hints or
me.
tips available. You can encounter some of them in the open world.
already know,
These are
go watch.
optional and can be skipped, but there are also some puzzles mandatory to continue with the main story. Some are clear and fun to solve, but others are very hard to understand because they involve new mechanics that are not or poorly explained. Again, there was a Discord set up during the review process process so we could share tips with each other, something I've never seen before.
That's kind of cool.
I get why they did it, because otherwise we would have been stranded countless of times during the main story, unable to continue. So
I
totally
can
expect
imagine
that you will need guides to continue certain parts of Crimson Desert.
I don't
But
want
as
to have to
annoying
do
as these
that.
things sound, you will want to put up with them to experience this world. Crimson Desert has so much to offer. Pets you can take with you. Awesome ways to use your skills within the environment.
Awesome.
Amazing mounts.
You know I gotta get a
you
pet
certainly
cat.
have to find. The game gives a lot back for the
As a
time you
cat daddy.
invest. And again, it does seem that most of the issues will be addressed in the coming months. There are these annoying enemies that would just out of nowhere stun lock you into a very
I don't like
difficult
that.
quick-time event.
I don't like
and
that.
would just simply cause you to die.
That
even
is
when you have
brutal,
full
bro.
health. So you have to respawn and lose another 5 minutes.
That
It's
is
not
gnarly,
fun,
the quick
but they
time
already addressed
events,
this
bro.
in the day 1 patch.
All right,
So
good,
if you don't
good.
mind waiting, then I
Yeah.
certainly believe Crimson Desert will be a much better experience. Again, 2 months or so from now. But if you are just as hyped as
nobody
I
waiting,
was
bro.
jumping into
Come on,
this
bro.
game,
Let's be honest. This game's gotten so much hype. Nobody's gonna fucking wait.
then it will not stop you from enjoying all the incredible moments that the game has to offer. It's a trade-off that I was willing to make. One that hopefully over time becomes less and less.
I took 2 days off of
If you
work.
still have
I'm
questions,
definitely
drop them
not
in the comments down
putting this
below,
shit
and I
off.
will do my best to answer them in a special Q&A video on the React channel that will go live before the game launches. Congrats to Save Extract for winning my Deluxe Edition giveaway. I already started a
nice.
new one, so if
W.
you still want a chance to win the game,
That's what's
then
up.
totally click the special link in the video description.
W.
Subscribe to the channel, leave a like, check out my previous video, and I will speak to you very soon. Goodbye.
Nice. I liked his review. Wait, did he give a? Okay, so he must not do like a score then, which is fine. I mean, I liked his review though. It gave a great like synopsis of the game. Only one that got really excited when I see you could ride a giant iguana. It looks like a raptor. An orc on a pig. I'm sold. Yeah, dude. That surprised me. Yeah, bro. The world looks so cool, bro. Like that just shows you like the difference in like the people who play this game or the people who review this game. Like Jor Raptor, that guy, he actually he wanted to play the game. Like, and he enjoys those type of games. That fucking clown at IGN, that guy just wanted to beat the game so he could put out a review and say, hey, I beat the game. And you obviously saw the result of his review because of that, which was piss poor. Like at least Jor, he actually like gave a nice like synopsis of the game and the mechanics and just like the feel of the game, you know. And it was just so much better. I like these kind of reviews. Like more of a genuine, like, hey, I played the game to have fun, like review. Not, hey, I'm playing the game to try to beat it. So W Jor Raptor, man. I've watched several of his videos too. Like he makes some pretty good content on Crimson Desert. W Jor. All right, do we want to watch any more? I don't think there's any more reviews that I really want to see. Oh wait, I put Gamer Ranks. That's probably why I'm seeing is Gamer Ranks. All right, let's check this out. ACG. 32 minutes? Nah, we ain't gonna watch that. But I mean, I'm sure it's good. Like, I just want like kind of very just brief. 10-minute is like pretty much all. Damn, this dude's riding a dragon, bro. Yeah, there's a lot of people doing reviews now. Oh, that's the Dreamcast guy. Okay, I heard about him in the IGN comments, so that's funny, bro. Dreamcast guy is crazy for a name. Legendary. Oh, Force Gaming, I remember him. Yeah. He does long reviews too. He's pretty good though. He's a good content creator, I think. Damn, close to perfection. Yeah, look, this dude did a 44-minute review. I've seen Fighting Cowboy. I've seen him before in a couple of his videos. That's what's up. Hell yeah. Well, moral of the story, chat, don't watch the big company reviews. IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer. Watch these smaller content creators. They're going to give you more. A lot of these dudes, their reviews are 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the length of these other reviews if you really want to get a deep dive of what the game is about and stuff. So that's what I would do if you want a more informed decision on the game. But yeah, I think that's I'm pretty satisfied with those. You know, it gave me a better idea of what to expect, you know, a little bit. But, you know, just like in like IGN, GameSpot, they didn't even clarify and like put out there, disclaim that, hey, there's going to be a day one patch that might fix half of the shit that I'm bitching about, you know? And it's like Jor Raptor did, you know? So that's all I'm saying. It's crazy. Like these giant companies and YouTube channels that have been around over decades, like doing game reviews, and they're just piss poor at it, bro. It's like they're not even professionals. Like it's sad, bro. But I mean, it's been like that forever now. So, okay, what do you expect, right? It's like the McDonald's of game reviews, IGN, particular, but you know, all those big ones. All right, I think I'm gonna restart my VOD. But hey, real quick, chat. Hold on, real quick. 22 hours. 22 hours and counting till we get to play. Let's go. All right. So yeah, I'm thinking what I want to play, man. I don't know. Maybe some finals, bro. Finals might be fun, honestly. I'd be down to play some finals. Been a little while since I'd like to see how it plays on the pro, man. I bet it's butter smooth. That's what we might do. I don't know. I'm gonna come back online in like 10 minutes, restart my VOD. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the reviews. So we checked out 4 different reviews. I think, was it 4? It might have been 5. They kind of blended together. But we had IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, Gamer Ranks, and Jor Raptor. And the first 3, IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, 3 big companies that revolve around gaming, by the way, in gaming culture. Horrible reviews. Nothing but negative, and they were all like, it all seemed like they were kind of biased, and just they didn't dive deep enough into the game to give a justifiable score. The IGN guy literally just wanted to speed run the game and complained about being underpowered for bosses. So that's just IGN right there in a nutshell. Jor Raptor W review, Gamer Ranks W review. Yo, what is up, Brent? How you doing, bro? How we doing today? Big dog, long time no see. I'm actually about to switch over to some finals. I'm gonna end this VOD real quick, this stream, and then hop on something else. But we just got done watching some reviews, some game reviews for the new upcoming open world game, Crimson Desert. I'm sure you've seen some videos about it. I'm sure you're involved in it, knowing you. And if you're not, check it out because it's gonna be dope. I'm gonna be playing it tomorrow when it drops. So yeah, boy. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, chat. I'll be back. We're gonna swap over to, I'm gonna end the VOD real quick, and then we're gonna I'm thinking finals. Not 100% yet. I might surprise y'all, throw a little curveball. I might play something else, but we'll see. Okay. Ready or not with your boy? I don't have ready or not, man. And I can't. I already promised my wife after buying Crimson Desert, after pre-ordering, I wouldn't. Oh, actually, after buying my PS5 Pro, that I wouldn't spend another dime. So, at least not, justifiable money on wants and needs. So, yeah. Sorry, bro. But catch me on the finals, most likely. All right, bro. I'll be back, chat. All right.